Hello my friends, Lenny with Vintage Nationals here today on the web at nationalguitar.com. I'm going to do a little bench talk with you today, and I'm going to talk about a little bit of anatomy, a little bit of neck resets. Let's take a look at this really nice early Triolean here that's been sent in to get a neck reset. It's number 350, so it's an early one. Of the features you see with this guitar is it's got the hooks on cover plate and the screws. So you've got the little hooks and you've got the screws one after the other. This would have been a hooks on cover plate that they added screws to as they tried to solve the or phase out a hooks on cover plate. Now how do we know it needs a neck reset? Well, obviously the action's high on the guitar, that's a problem, and the saddle is low. Let's take a look at the saddle, if you can see it there, and see how low that has been ground down. Now one of the things you look for to assess whether a guitar needs a neck reset is the break angle. When these strings come across here and sit on that saddle, they should actually drop down to this tailpiece here. Okay, if we look at this, it's not dropping down at all, it's a straight shot. And that tells me that there's no break angle left. Over the years, this neck has pulled forward just slightly, so the strings want to raise up. If you think about that, when this neck comes up like this, the strings are going to rise with it. So over the years, this saddle will be ground down lower and lower and lower to try to compensate for that neck angle pulling forward. Here's a couple necks to get an idea. When this neck is in there, there's two pieces to it. I've got the neck, in this case a piece of maple from a Style O. I've got the neck stick, which is going into the heel. You can see this neck stick is pressed right into that heel. Look at the top. It's actually two pieces that are pressed together and glued in. And there's your neck from a side angle, and this is what's inside the body. Here's another example, and it's actually already separated from the neck itself. So this would have been sitting in here like this. You can see. So sometimes it's actually this joint right here where this has kind of come pulled a little bit over time, or this neck stick has bowed a little bit, but it's usually this part coming forward a little bit. Another thing you can see, if you can look down this, when you look down that fingerboard, it should be straight when it gets onto the body. If you look at this from here back, do you see how this flap kind of raises upward? In other words, what's happening is this flap right here, the neck is pulling forward, so it comes down at a bit of an angle like this, and then it flaps out like that. That tells you the neck has come a little too far forward also. And as you can see, the action's still quite high, and as you look down the neck, you see a bow in the neck. While we're talking about necks, might as well mention a Bakelite neck, if you've heard of them. This was actually a plastic neck. This is off of a Triolean. It's actually an early plastic. And this would have been bolted to the piece of wood. You see there's two screws on there. These weren't pressed together. You see this is all one piece. This is part of this fretboard, heel, everything is one piece. That's why you can't really repair. You know, that's a plastic, that's part of the neck. That fretboard and the frets are pressed in there. Another thing notice about this Bakelite neck is this piece right falls into the face of the body. The body of that early Bakelite guitar would have had a slot in the front. Here's another Bakelite neck that's had a broken headstock on it along the way. And as you can see, this piece again is one solid chunk, and that would have laid into the body, into a slot in the top of the body like that. So those bodies, if you switch the neck out, now you've got to bridge that gap and put a bridge under there to strengthen that piece of the face of the body. Here's something that I got for my birthday present. I just noticed the dogs were chewing on. I haven't seen it in a year, but I'll share it with you.
You're right. We don't need directions. Maybe you'll find a shortcut. Don't worry about taking the trash out. I can use the exercise.
Here's an example of a square neck. And one of the interesting things about this is you can see this gap here. Well, this is one of the later parts of the design where they started to use a wooden block underneath here as a way of support, and that's how National Resophonic makes their guitars, is they put a wedge in here in this piece. And this later design, or later in the game, was an interesting advancement in how they did the bracing of the guitar to the body. Here's an early Duolian square neck. So in this design, earlier design, they would have sat this would have gone through the opening in the body, and they would have sat 2 of these mahogany strips, one on each side, underneath here, like that, as such. Now what's going to happen when this neck is reset is essentially this is going to change. If you think of this as a seesaw, this angle is changing back to where it should be, where it started. It's ever so slightly, but there's that change. Once that takes place, then everything falls into place, and the neck is straight. Then the angle falls into place. You get a break angle. Once this tilts back, you can see you would now have, this goes down, the saddle's going to be a little higher, and then it's going to drop back down a little bit. You're going to have more tension on the cone, you're going to have more volume, you're going to get really what this guitar has to offer. Anyway, hope you enjoyed that little anatomical tour. We'll see you at nationalguitar.com. And we'll get this guy up and running, get his neck off. Going to tilt this guy back just a touch. Massage in here. Get that neck stick right. New saddle. Heat press this baby. That'll be like brand new, ready for another 70 years. And I'll see you here at the bench, only at nationalguitar.com. See you there.
You don't need a glass. Just go ahead and drink right out of the carton. A new reversible drill. Oh, honey, it is just what I needed. Are you sure it's okay to wash this shirt? You've only worn it for a couple of days. Don't feel bad, honey. I forgot it was our anniversary, too. You're right. We don't need directions. Maybe you'll find a shortcut.